morning, everybody. Sorry, a little bit of technological issues. Thank you, Jodie, for introducing me. I'm Dan Richards, 2016 Nuffield Scholar and Chair for Nuffield in the Northern Territory, CEO of Humpty Doo Barramundi. So today, talking about our journey from little things, big things grow, and through for Humpty Doo Barramundi, and also how that's intersected with Nuffield and how Nuffield's really helped on that journey. So who are we? I'm a fourth generation Territorian. I farm with my father on the right. Bob's third generation Territorian. My kids are fifth generation Territorians. My wife Taryn. So Taryn's got a marketing communications background and runs the business services part of our business. Bob has a ag science and environmental management background, and I've got an environmental management background. So that's who we are. So we're Territorians. We're here for the long term, so we take a very long-term view on things. So what do? We grow barramundi for Australia end to end. So we've got everything from a breeding program that we run with CSIRO right through to branded products in supermarkets and on the consumer's plate. So it's a full end-to-end operation. So, and aren't they a beautiful thing? Humpty Doo Barramundi's out here on the edge of the Adelaide River floodplain. We've got a big crocodile-infested river right next to us that's full of dinosaurs, and it's got amazing salt water, and we're surrounded by all sorts of fantastic wildlife.
You can't help loving the environment here. It's a beautiful natural environment on the banks of the river here, and we're on the sweet spot in the floodplain where the flood doesn't get too deep. A lot of the challenge has been to develop the farm while ensuring that we protect the magnificent natural environment we live in.
Both Dad and I have got environmental science, environmental management backgrounds, so care of the environment's really important for us. We've created this great saltwater wetland that's surrounding us now, and what that does is enable us to bring in salt water from the Adelaide River right next door and then reuse that water again and again to enable us to have a consistent supply of beautiful, clean saltwater fish.
In the early days, we had very low volumes of fish, and they were small plate-sized fish, and we would gill, gut, scale the fish and deliver them 6 fish to this restaurant, 10 to that restaurant, and you'd walk into the kitchen on a Thursday night and the chef would be there, and one of the things that really came out was the passion of the chefs and their concern about consistent quality, good shelf life, presentation, and they are artists and they take pride in what they do, and they demand good standards in the product they want, and that was a really important lesson for us in understanding what we have to do at our end to make sure the supply chain can deliver right down to chefs and the home consumers exactly the same.
Being a family business, we've created a family of people here working with us. We've got work every day of the year, so we've got a great team of people, and we're really proud to be able to share the opportunities that we're creating here with other Territorians, because it's a great thing to be part of.
You have to be dynamic, you have to be a continuous improver, always looking for ways to do things better, learn what the customer's needs are, find better ways of getting the product there. It's relentless, and part of that is growing big. That was my vision, but I didn't really know exactly how I was going to get there, but I knew that's where it had to go.
We're doing what we love doing here. Being able to work in this environment, wild place with a great group of people and with beautiful animals, producing them for the Australian consumers is something that we're really proud of. So I guess I'm doing what I love, and that's something I couldn't be happier with.
One of the things I really love about barramundi is that they've got real character. You can understand why they're such an iconic fish. I mean, for the fishermen, they jump and fight and so on. They get stuck in billabongs and live there and wait and endure until the wet season gets here. And it's their zest for life, and everything they do really gets to you. They're fighters and they're great eating too.
So that probably gives you a bit of a flavour for who we are and where we are. So now I'll talk to you a little bit about what I'm really passionate about. This is our mission, and this is what gets me out of bed. This is my marker for True North, and that's our mission, is to responsibly produce, and every word matters, you know, to responsibly produce beautiful Australian barramundi while demonstrating our genuine care and commitment to our people, our fish, our environment, and our partners. And we use that as a test statement when I get out of bed. So that's what I'm going to do today with our people. We explain. If I don't say it twice a day, I don't get out of bed. And we basically challenge our team. So that's what we're here to do. If I'm not doing that, I want you to tell me I'm not doing that. And so that's really what we do. And so when we're making decisions, whether it's how to look after our people, how to pay our people, what we're going to do with a animal welfare issue or whatever, we really use that at every stage along the way. Say, are we or are we not doing that? So that's what gets me up. So in the Northern Territory, it's important to understand the context we operate in. So 30% of the Northern Territory population are Aboriginal people, 30% of the legislature are Aboriginal people. Half the land is under the pastoral estate. It's got presumed native title. The other half is absolutely Aboriginal land, and so there's only 2% of freehold land in the Northern Territory. So it's such an important thing for the success of the Territory to bring Aboriginal people on the journey and for them to benefit in the development. We believe that for the good of the whole community. So we work quite closely with our traditional owners, the Limingan people whose land we farm on, and this is the Kenyan family, a wonderful entrepreneurial family. They run their own, eco-tourism business and Aboriginal cultural business, and we work with them for cross-cultural training of our people, as well as, when we're bringing up chefs and wholesalers from around the country. They're part of the experience to actually, help their people understand where we are, and they get a lot out of it. It's often one of the highlights of their visits. So we've sat in and we've observed a lot of failed agricultural ventures in the north where people have come in and they beat their chest and they say, we are going to be big, man, it's going to be big, it's going to be so good. And the government gets behind it and they say, they're great, we're going to give them tens of millions of dollars or more, and they fail. So Dad, having been a local, he was born in Tennant Creek and got to witness a lot of these failed ventures and also the post-mortem of them. And what they saw is a lot of we're built on the Humpty Doo Rice project, which is a big failed agricultural venture from the 1950s. So what they saw is a lot of these ventures have not survived their learning curve. And so before we even started the farm, Dad developed like a Maslow's hierarchy of needs of how to develop our business successfully before we had a fish. And so this is the recipe that we've rolled out. So what it is we call it survive, learn, grow. So survival for us is about don't kill anybody. Keep your fish alive. Don't run out of cash. If you've done that, you're still in the game, and then you can learn from there. And so that's something, and when times are tough and, we go back to that and say, you've got to do this. And then it's learning. So Nuffield's been a really important part of learning for us. That's been travelling the globe to see the best thinkers in the world and the best technologies, and we do a lot of trials. We've got a lot of smart people in the business who we work with across, and we empower to implement their ideas. And that developing that knowledge, the genetics, the marketing, and all of that. And in doing that, that enables us to de-risk the growth part of the business because we've worked things out on a small scale. We like to fail small and fail often so that we're learning fast. And so we don't expect to get everything right. We don't worry about getting everything right. Like Jodie was saying this morning, don't worry about it, just try. So that's what we do. And then that really means when you go to scale the business, getting the capital and the infrastructure and the organisation and the stock and the markets, you've worked that stuff out on a small scale and you can have a much higher chance of success. So that's been our recipe. So we've been on a long journey. So the farm's been running for 29 years now. We started off in this fancy all-purpose shed on the left with just a couple of ponds, and we started off doing just 6 kilos of fish a week, as Dad described in the video, that dropping them off to the back doors of restaurants. I used to gill gut and scale them in the backyard on a mesh table. We don't have a photo of that, but there were so many things to learn. We did things. We lost machines in the mud, and we swam across the ponds and got smacked in the face. I got a broken cheekbone from a barramundi hitting me one time. was very manual. Dad fed those fish with a scoop until the volumes got so high and he got RSI from chucking feed, you know. Now we're doing 180,000 kilos of feed a week. You wouldn't want to be doing it with a scoop. In 2000, so that survival phase for us, a lot of that was really nearly the first decade. So, so from that 1993 to 2002, Bob got his own Churchill Fellowship and travelled around the world and looked at the leading aquaculture thinking globally at the time. And on the back of that, you know, we're looking at how do we develop, you know, integrated, sustainable solutions that enable the business to grow. So on the back of that, we developed this integrated saltwater wetland system, which is the foundation stone that our production sits on today. So, and we've, you know, trialled it and experimented and refined it, and it works well for us now. Our growth to 2016, so we basically had a compound growth rate, and initially it was very high, and then it just settled back down to about 30% a year. We did for the next 25 years, just gradually, not setting the world on fire, just systematically identifying the bottlenecks to growth and eliminating them as we move the business forward. So that was where we were up to my Nuffield experience. So my Nuffield adventure, my investor was Woolworths. Thank you, Woolworths. It was a great thing. Did the Japan GFP with Wayne and Jody, which was great. 18 weeks through 19 countries. I travelled light and fast and hard, targeted things, you know, conferences, leading producers, research institutes, health labs, all over the world. Just flogged myself as hard as I could to see as much as I could to really make the most of the opportunity. So the question I was there to investigate is, can barra be the whitefish equivalent to salmon? So, and during the Nuffield CSC in Ireland, I came across a framework that really helped me put a structure around how I would tackle that question. And it started off with genetics creates the potential. So that's the beautiful flavour of the mango or the berry or the flesh quality of the barramundi or whatever. You can see here the difference between a 1950s chicken and a 2008 chicken. That's all to do with the work on the genetics of those animals. And that's from 68 days down to 47 days. So you can see genetics is a very powerful thing. So with the genetics, then it's management realises the potential. So that's the farming systems, the research, the marketing, the regulation, all of those things that turn genetics into business. And you guys will all understand that within your operations. And so that was really how you create that value. And did a case study on Norway. Norway is the largest producers of salmon globally. They're a high-cost labour environment. They've got a very complex coastline, which provides a lot of shelter for them, but it also is a big messed up place with lots of channels and islands and all that sort of thing. And there's a lot of similarities between them and North Australia. You know, they've got the tyranny of distance, they've got the high labour cost, all those things that we could see parallels and how we could learn from what they're doing. We've actually adopted a lot of technology from there since that time. So they're also very focused on one thing. So you talk about aquaculture in Norway, it's salmon or it's salmon or it's salmon, whereas we've got, you know, half a dozen species. You know, we've got prawns and salmon are the big one here, but salmon and prawns and barramundi and, you know, abalone and all sorts of things. So our effort here, the focus of researchers and the talented people is much more dilute in Australia. And then it doesn't matter how good your mangoes are. If they get mango COVID, you're buggered. So disease destroys the potential. And disease is the number one cause of aquaculture failure globally. So I travelled to Southeast Asia, went to a farm over there, and they were dealing with 7 different barramundi diseases that we don't encounter here. So biosecurity is obviously really important. That obviously causes lots of mortalities, but it also adds a huge amount of cost to the production. Now, we're really lucky to live where we live, where we've got this, you know, largely disease-free status that enables us to, you know, produce animals again and again without the need for antibiotics and all this sort of thing. At the same time I was doing this, the southeast Queensland prawn industry was being wiped out by white spot, so people sort of understand what that means. I learned a lot of other things too on the travels that weren't just looking at fish farms, because that was sort of my time. Indonesia, we went to the Great Giant Food Company, where they're growing 1.5 million kilos of pineapples a day and 1 million tonnes of cassava starch a year. They've got a couple of thousand people, and once they've squeezed all the pina colada juice out of their pineapple, They feed the waste from those 2 plant industries to the 100,000 cattle a year that they fatten. And I was like, that was amazing, you know, that scale and efficiency. They don't waste anything, lowest cost producer. I thought maybe you just got to get big. And then I went to Saudi Arabia, where I went to one of the biggest barramundi farms in the world. They're growing, they'd spent $200 million building a barramundi farm there that was growing 7,000 tonnes of barramundi, but they could only sell 4, which was a bit of a problem. And it was costing them $7 a kilo to produce, and they could only sell it for 4. So it was a 7-4 rule. And you go, gee, being big without getting your marketing right doesn't work either. So then enter Japan. So amazing experience in Japan, looking at niche marketing and how it creates value. So we looked at, you know, $45 rock melons. We looked at $15 a kilo milk, and $150 a kilo beef flakes. So it's all about niche marketing, creating that value. And I was sort of like thought, could we do that at our place? Maybe, you know, but it was ideas to play with. So there's so many lessons to learn and to come back and apply. You know, can we develop a genetics, you know, leadership and fit-for-purpose fish for our farming environment? Develop a vision for a bigger scale. The people and organisation to actually help deliver that goal. You know, technology adoption and creation from around the world. Developing a brand, securing markets, preventing disease. So many things to do. So what have we done? Well, coming back, we've formed at the time we were buying our babies from someone else. Now we've developed our own hatchery, and we've developed our own selective breeding program to breed fit-for-purpose animals in partnership with CSIRO. So they oversee the scientific side of things, help us select the animals and that side of stuff. And that's been a great journey. We're seeing now incremental improvements in the performance of those animals. And they're being selected for our environment. People ask me about climate change and the like. I'm like, okay, we're looking at a solar farm. We're also developing animals that are adapting with our environment. They're animals that are performing well in our farming system, which is getting hotter, and they're doing well. So we're selecting those animals to come on the journey with us. Our farm in 2015, when I was awarded my Nuffield Farming Scholarship, we've grown a little bit. So we've grown quite a lot. We're actually 5 times bigger than we were with the technological improvements and increase in scale. So that's been 4 days after I got back from my Nuffield adventure, Dad said, right, it's time for you to spend time with your family. And then he said, actually, no, we just got approval to build a farm. You've got 4 months because the wet season's coming. So we had to go like hell. So we did all of that, and we've got capacity to double again. So that's the next stage for us, is to gradually roll that plan out. Looking at growth of Humpty Doo Barramundi versus Queensland. So the orange line in the centre there is Queensland. You can see it's more, so I've chosen Queensland because it's where the majority of barramundi farms in Australia are. So you can see it's basically sat flat, up and down, almost nothing changed over the last decade. The line at the bottom is Humpty Doo. The line at the top is the national production growth. So you can see 80% of the production growth in barramundi farming in Australia has come out of Humpty Doo Barramundi in the last decade. So what we're doing is a little bit different. So a lot of innovation and modernisation. So moving from swimming across to adopting the world's leading fish pumping technologies. The advanced grow on nursery facility you can see on the right there was designed by some people I met out of Canada at a aquaculture conference while I was doing my Nuffield scholarship in Las Vegas. So really bringing those ideas and technology back, and we're tracking our fish populations with software that we learnt from people during my Nuffield, all sorts of things we've brought on board. Previously, we were having what I call a casual sex relationship with our customer. We would spend a lot of time developing the asset and then hope that someone wanted to buy it on the day we had to sell it. We said, this is a rocks in your head business plan. We've really got to get better at this. So securing markets. So the first cab off the rank for us, the beginning of 2017, 5 months after I got back from Nuffield, was to secure the national Costco contract, which was great. So there's cabinets full of branded Humpty Doo Barramundi product in Costco supermarkets around Australia, which is great, a really important partnership. It turns out that the guys at Woolies read my report, and so that was cool. I got a call from the seafood buyer who'd just said, I just read your report, Dan, I think we should talk. And so that's been a wonderful relationship with us. It's led to a national partnership. There was me at the front of every Woolies in Australia, my kids getting a selfie with Dad. And so that was, they threw a lot of resources behind that and promoting our brand and our business through theirs. Really looking at brand versus commodity. On the left there, so we've got the national Hello Fresh contract, direct delivery of product into the home. And on the left there it says Humpty Doo Barramundi, Australia's great tasting saltwater barramundi. On the right says salmon. So you can see the differentiation there. They've got an undifferentiated, orange product as opposed to a branded product with all that messaging on it. On Qantas, that's our fish in business class in Qantas. We sold a lot less fish to Qantas in 2020 and a lot more to Woolworths, I'll just say. But on the right there, that's Australian comedian Celeste Barber saying average barramundi is over, with an O-V-A-H, and it's all Humpty Doo. So that's really looking at the change in branding from an undifferentiated product in the market to one where people are actually calling it out. She wasn't the only person to call it out. There's this guy, he's got a new job now, but but New Year's Eve, just gone, he cooked our dinner, our fish for dinner, and called it out, and we were in the top 20 searches on Twitter on New Year's Day this year. So things change. So we also do a lot of work showing love for our customers. That's part of that thing of showing a genuine care and commitment to our partners. So we bring about 100 chefs and wholesalers up to our business each year to meet our people, catch a barramundi, do a jumping crocodile cruise, do a cultural tour with our Aboriginal cultural, traditional owners, and really build that connection. So then it's about love. It's not about 20 cents a kilo. So it's just changing the nature of that relationship with our people. Preventing disease, so we've set up fish health team and laboratory and protocols and passive surveillance program and vaccine trials and also lobbying nationally on biosecurity to keep those diseases out of Australia for the benefit of the broader industry. And we've kept learning through 2018-19. We did the Australian Centre for Business Growth program where we learnt things about, and that's why I learned about the man in the arena, but also learn about things, the changing role of the leader as the business grows. So, when you're small and it's a startup, it's just you and you do everything. As you get bigger, you've got then people, you've got to tell people what to do, and then you've got to tell people who tell the people what to do as you go up this continuum. And then really we're moving from the rapid growth to continuous growth where what we're doing is building the organisation, and I'm being the leader, I actually try and stay out of it and clear the path in front, but set them up to be able to run the whole show themselves. So in 2022, now Humpty Doo Barramundi is 15,000 times bigger than we were in our first year. So that's been quite a journey, you can imagine, 15,000 times. I've got over 150 people. We're rolling out a $60 million expansion, vertical integration, 5 million fish, and the national supply contracts. And still 100% family owned. We've created a big team and culture. They're a bit of a cult, I've got to admit. They're drinking from the fountain, and they're making the operational decisions in the day-to-day running of the business and where it's going. And the big decisions like this one around the uniform policy, nudity permitted or not, so they've got to think about these things. But yeah, it's been great, really empowering people to take the lead and run the show, because otherwise it'll drive me crazy. I can't tell 150 people what to do. We're also working a lot with the local community. So Rachel on the right was part of the Great Resignation. Rachel was a executive banker who wanted to do something different. Now she leads our people development, working a lot. She's embedded within our local schools and university, working to get young people into employment. We believe that's a really important mission, to get young people to identify themselves as workers as early as possible, because if you wait till they're 25, you miss the boat. So a lot of what we're doing is, we're working with local Indigenous kids as well as, mainstream kids from through the population, getting them in for work experience that then flows on to real paid employment for the right candidates. So that's something we think is worthwhile, and our whole team is wrapping around that. And people have noticed what we're doing. That's Taryn collecting the 2018 Woolworths Sustainable Supplier of the Year Award, which was cool. Photo on the right is pretty blurry, but that's Taryn and I receiving the NT Sustainable Farmer, Landcare Sustainable Farmer Award, which we're also a national finalist in. Also for my folks who have been on a long journey, they received Order of Australia medals last week, so that was pretty cool for them as they're sort of getting to that stage of their career. So it's been been great. What have I gained from Nuffield? Global insights into and perspectives, a vision for where our business can grow over the next decade and beyond, the tools to be able to deliver it, the relationship with the Nuffield alumni, and ongoing connection with leaders. It's been a great organisation to be part of and to be able to try and give back to. So it's been a life-changing experience. My advice to the new scholars, Nuffield is your golden ticket. Put everything in that you can. Whatever you put in, you're going to get 10 times back. So be greedy and just put more in, Give back to Nuffield, give back to your community and other things. Similarly, you'll get 10 times back. It's amazing. It's worth it. Embrace your group and be open. Be brave and learn to be comfortable being uncomfortable, because you'll be uncomfortable sometimes. Don't waste your chance. I had some people who I travelled with who came and visited and said, and I showed them what I did, and they said, we just went home again. Don't waste your opportunity. You're learning stuff. Take these lessons and do something with them. This is such a great chance. And take earplugs. Thank you, Nuffield.